Welcome back to Forward Progress presented by Fanduel. It's a way too early NFC North division preview. I'm your host here, Jay Scooper, alongside Judah. And today, like I mentioned off the top, we're going to be taking a look at the NFC North, one of the most fun divisions in all of football, one of the best divisions in all of football. We're going to be taking a look at the board, seeing what we like, seeing what we don't like, talking about stock up, stock down for each team, starting with the Detroit Lions. I mean, this one, I want to hear your thoughts on this, Judah, because I think the Detroit Lions did something that very few Super Bowl caliber teams are able to do, and they pretty much kept their roster intact from the previous year. But, of course, they lost OC Ben Johnson and their defensive coordinator as well. John Morton stepping in, Kelvin Shepard stepping in on the defensive coordinator side of things. Tell me your thoughts on this, Judah. Team kept together, but new coaches. Stock up or stock down for the Lions?
Yeah, I think stock down. And certainly stock down relative to how they played last year. I think a lot of credit, rightfully so, goes to Ben Johnson. Like, I don't think Jared Goff magically became this great quarterback. And yes, they have a great offensive line, but like Goff and this team was producing even with like pretty bad wide receivers. It's like Josh Reynolds was at a point producing for the Lions 2 years ago. Like, right now, when they're healthy, St. Brown, Jameson Williams, and Tim Patrick, I think, are like a pretty solid trio. Sam Laporta, obviously, one of the better tight ends. And the defense was, they like played to a really high variance style under Aaron Glenn. I think that's a huge question mark how they kind of play next season. They obviously lost the entirety of their defense over the second half of the season. Aiden Hutchinson seems like, certainly if he returns to his early 2024 form, a guy who's going to be an absolute stud. It's still kind of a shaky unit. Like, Terrion Arnold's not a great cornerback too. Again, this is pre-draft. They could address some of these needs. But yes, this is still, I think, going to be a good team. But let's not forget who's playing quarterback. I don't think Jared Goff is a guy who's going to produce at a top 10 clip without the requisite help. And certainly if there are some injuries on the offensive line, or even to a guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think things can go downhill a bit quickly. And given how much the market is giving them credit for, given I think just our general perception of how good the Lions are, I think there are some paths to them kind of coming up short.
Yeah, I think I perfectly align with your thoughts there. Especially, Jared Goff's their quarterback. How good can he play? Do we really know what John Morton is as an offensive coordinator? It's going to be we're going to have to see a lot quickly out the gate from them and kind of adjust from there. Currently right now, the Detroit Lions to win the NFC North are priced at plus 110. Their win total 10.5 right now, juiced towards the under, minus 140. So market sentiment definitely is leaning that way. Let's get to the second team, the second best priced team in the division, the Green Bay Packers, priced at plus 260. I mean, tell me your opinion on the Green Bay Packers. It always feels like they're the little brother of the NFC North, if that makes any sense. They can never really climb their way to the top. It always feels like the Lions or the Vikings are outperforming them year after year since Aaron Rodgers has left. Just tell me a little bit about your thoughts on the Green Bay Packers. Stock up or stock down?
Yeah, I'd say probably stock down. This is a team that I don't think really got better. Again, I think there's a high, similar to teams we've talked about, and like the Lions, for like there's probably a pretty high floor just when you have a coach like LaFleur, who has had so much success with so many different quarterbacks. I mean, like Malik Willis is a small sample, but they've won in different ways. They've won with a downfield passing attack. They won last year with this great rushing attack. I just think it provides so much optionality on the offense. Like, they'll be fine. But yeah, the defense kind of lacks some talent. We'll see if Jaire Alexander is still on the team by the time the season rolls around. Like, he's by far their best corner. They don't have much depth outside of that. Rashawn Gary's getting up there in age. You're probably not going to get as many interceptions from Xavier McKinney as you did last year. It's a team that is just like, I think they'll be in the mix, but like, they don't have elite wide receiving talent. They don't have elite quarterbacking. They have great coaching, I think, or at least their offensive production has been great under LaFleur. And like, that's going to provide you some kind of floor, I guess, for lack of a better word there. But it's not a team that I'm particularly excited about or think they got so much better this season or someone's going to develop in such a way that like the outlook is so much brighter.
Yeah, I think you nailed it there. Other than their elite coaching, there's nothing elite about this player grouping. Everything's kind of average or above average in terms of where these players stand compared to the rest of the league. We got two more teams to cover, the Chicago Bears and the Minnesota Vikings. But before we do that, I want to quickly tell you about our sponsors over at FanDuel. It might be the offseason, but if you want to bet on the NFL draft and NFL futures, Fanduel is the place to go for that action. Listen, the NFL draft is right around the corner. If you want to bet on who's going to go first overall, who's going to go second overall, which team is going to draft Ashton Jeanty, you can do all that over on Fanduel. Just visit fanduel.com/forward progress to download America's #1 sportsbook. That's fanduel.com forward progress. Up next, the Minnesota Vikings. Earlier on, in an earlier video, you had some choice words about Sam Darnold. Obviously, the biggest offseason move for this team was moving on from Sam Darnold, sticking with JJ McCarthy. Obviously, they had a plan for him. Tears his ACL, gets injured. That wasn't part of the plan, but they want to stick with JJ McCarthy, probably doing that for a reason. Outside of that, they had some small upgrades on their offensive line, upgrades on their defensive line as well. Quickly, Minnesota Vikings, stock up, stock down.
Yeah, we'll use the market here as the barometer of stock. I get to kind of arbitrarily pick what stock means. Is it general sentiment? Is it how well they produced last year? It's the market. This is the power you and trust in me. It's certainly relative to market. I think this is one of my favorite buys, and it's for exactly the reason you alluded to, of just like, I think if you were to understand the success of Sam Darnold last season, I think a lot of it has to do with like throwing the ball to Justin Jefferson is it's not bad. You want to do that. Having Kevin O'Connell call your plays, also not the worst thing. And this is a team that has, like, as you said, a very good offensive line. They have a great situation, great coordinator, very good receivers, very good offensive line. And let's not forget, like, Brian Flores turned this defense into a terrific unit last season. I think they still have plenty of talent there. They still have him as the DC. And like, that's what I think kind of sustained a lot of their success, was just like coaching, good situation. And that remains. And if the market's kind of going to take a real stand on Sam Darnold, or at least JJ McCarthy, I don't think that's necessarily the right call. Yes, there's going to be some variance in a guy who's never taken a regular season NFL snap. But I think I have enough confidence in what the Minnesota coaching staff, especially on the offensive side, has done now for a bunch of years, whether it's like Josh Dobbs or Nick Mullins, Kirk Cousins. Like, they've gotten the best out of all of those guys. And that leads me to think that they can have plenty of success.
Yeah, they've earned the benefit of the doubt from us. And obviously they didn't really make a move at backup quarterback, or like a significant move. There were rumors of them getting maybe Aaron Rodgers, but it seemed like they weren't interested in that at all. That's a big signal to me that says, hey, we're ready to go with JJ McCarthy here. Plus, again, small thing, I mentioned it off the top, they did get a little bit better in the trenches, which is something that you can never really complain about in a division as tough as the NFC North. Win total right now, 8.5, juice towards the under, -135, +115 towards the over. All right, let's get into the last team here. The one I've been kind of waiting for, the Chicago Bears. Obviously, people who watch the channel know how much I love Caleb Williams. And yeah, a lot of changes this offseason for the Chicago Bears. Their coaching staff last year was an absolute circus. You bring in probably one of the best offensive minds in Ben Johnson. You completely revamp their offensive line, get a defensive end in Deo Adeyingbo. I'm so bad at pronouncing his name. And then also defensive tackle Grady Jarrett. Don't really lose too much other than that circus head coach that you had running around there. But anyways, I feel like I'm bearing the lead here. Judah, be nice to me. Stock up or stock down, Chicago Bears.
Again, I get to choose what stock means. Here, stock, I'll go with just like general sentiment around the Bears, and I think it's stock down. Here are my two main question marks. Number one, this was a defense that last year, especially by the end, was like really terrific. The first half of this season, solid, and the second half was the single worst defense in the NFL. And they don't have a lot of talent. I mean, Tyreek Stevenson right now, their cornerback 2 is one of the worst cornerbacks in the NFL. Obviously, you've got everyone remembers the Hail Mary, but it's on the other hundreds of snaps where he was a complete liability in coverage. I like some of their defensive line pieces. No one's moving the needle. I think, like, for all of his shortcomings as a head coach, the Flus, I think, was still a pretty decent. I don't know if anyone's ever called him the Flus, but Flus, I think, was still like a pretty good defensive coordinator. And on the offensive side, yeah, they improved their offensive line. That's great. They brought in Ben Johnson. That's great. If Caleb Williams is holding onto the ball for 3.5 seconds, I'm not sure how much any of that matters. You're going to create your own pressure. You're not going to be able to execute well within scheme. all of these things I think are true. Yeah, of course. Would it be shocking if Williams takes a big step forward? He cuts down on a lot of those pressures that he creates and those sacks. No, it wouldn't be shocking, but I don't think it's a given. And certainly there's nothing to suggest so far other than kind of like blind hope that he is going to, not blind hope, that's not fair, but just kind of like a trust in his progression as a quarterback to say like, okay, he will succeed in a system like this. It's a question mark to me. And I think it's almost being treated as a near certainty. So you combine those two things, a defense that I don't think is going to be particularly good and has been good for them the last couple of seasons, in addition to just some general question marks about how good Caleb Williams is. And I'm a little skeptical.
All right. I told you to be nice, and you did the exact opposite. The regular season win total right now is priced at 8.5 plus 115 towards the under, minus 135 towards, plus 115 towards the over, minus 135 towards the under. I mean, listen, I'm going to bet on talent 10 times out of 10. I think Caleb Williams is talented. I think Ben Johnson is talented. So that's where my money would likely go. Gun to your head, Judah, division winner, NFC North. Based on the pricing right now, who do you like and why?
Yeah, it's the Vikings. I don't even think you need to put a gun to my head right now. This is one I actually just like. And it's for all the reasons I stated. This is a team that came really, really close to winning the division last season. And I think just you look at, this has been the theme so far, but like very stable coaching staff with a good defense, even on paper, and a Minnesota team that like, and maybe it's just my Sam Darnold bias, but they got some elite production out of him. There's a non-zero chance they'll get even better production out of JJ McCarthy because he's even better, but I think it provides a reasonable floor of what the quarterbacking can do. And I think there are even some question marks about all those teams. I'm not sold that the Lions are going to be as good as they were last year. I'm not sold that the Packers are going to be as good as they were last year. I think the Bears probably will be a little better than last year, but they were not a very good team last year. So you add it all up, and I think not that much has changed from the Vikings. And if anything, you want to be betting on that right tail because McCarthy, I think, can be a very good quarterback. And dare I say, even better than Sam Darnold was last season.
Yeah, and I'm not going to hate on the Minnesota Vikings take. I love KOC. Great offensive mind, offensive coach. But yeah, if I had to pick, I would do something a little bit more frisky, kind of leverage the ability on to SGP these win totals on Fanduel, which I think is really cool. I want to fade the Detroit Lions in this division. I want to take their under and kind of piggyback off you, take some Minnesota Vikings over 8.5, Chicago Bears over 8.5, now price out at plus 600. And if you have a strong feeling on the division, you can add the Chicago Bears in there and make it to win their division, make it 14-1, or you can add the Minnesota Vikings in there to make it 18-1. So that would be under Detroit Lions 10.5 wins, over Chicago Bears 8.5 wins, and over Minnesota Vikings 8.5 wins. A little bit of fun with some pricing and props, or sorry, SGPs or whatever, parlays. They have it listed as an SGP. It's a parlay on FanDuel. Anyways, that wraps it up for us here today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you made it this far in the video, it means you like our content. So do us a favor, smash that like button as hard as you can and subscribe. We got so much more coming down the pipeline. We got NFL draft stuff. We got more division previews coming your way. So if you like this stuff and you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Finally, before you go, do us a favor. Love to hear what you guys have to say about this. Drop your comments down below on who you think will win the NFC North and what price you'd like to bet given the current odds right now, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one.